The EMBonds Excel add-in allows traders to stream firm or indicative prices to the EMBonds platform directly from Excel. This video will show how to install the add-in, how to create a bespoke pricing spreadsheet before finally showing how to publish prices themselves. To install, let's first open the EMBonds application by clicking on the desktop icon. Having logged in, then go to the settings page by clicking the icon in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Selecting the Excel API section, first ensure you have generated a token by clicking the top button. Then, ensuring that all Excel spreadsheets are closed beforehand, click on the second button. This will then install the add-in. There's nothing more you need to do. Having installed the add-in, we can now open a blank Excel workbook. As you can see on the top row, there is now an EMBonds tab, and we'll click on this. The only activated button to begin with is the system setup. We need to do this first. Clicking on this button opens up a form. As you can see, it shows the token which came from my application. It also shows the environment in which I'm hoping to publish to, in this case a test environment. If I'm behind a proxy, I'll need to enter the information here before saving the settings. Clicking Test Connection will see if the connection has been established correctly, and if it has been, we can then move on, closing the form. Installation is now complete. We can now move on to creating a pricing spreadsheet. To do this, click the Bond Setup button. On this form, we can choose which bonds we want to publish prices for. There are two methods of doing this. Either we can select this drop-down, choosing which market segments we're interested in trading, and then adding some or all of the bonds in those segments. The other method is if we have an existing list of ISINs which we want to add to the sheet, we can press this button here, and we can copy and paste that list of ISINs and add the bonds that way. Either way will create a pricing sheet with those bonds that you've selected. Now let's look at the pricing sheet that we've created. As you can see, it includes the bonds which we chose. It also shows some information about those bonds. In particular, it shows whether the bond is price or yield quoted. We can now enter in prices and sizes that we want to publish. I can choose whether for each bond and side I want to quote an indicative or a firm price. Out of the bonds that I've set up, I may want to turn off contribution for some of those bonds. I can do this by toggling the on-off switch in the contribute columns. Now let's publish our prices. I do this by clicking the Publish button at the top. Looking at the application itself, I can see my own prices. My firm prices appear to me as orange. My indicative prices appear to me as white. Considering these from someone else's perspective now, looking at the application, my firm prices will look blue to them and my indicative prices will look white. If I'm a bank publishing prices and another bank is looking at my levels, they can't trade on them, but they still appear blue. Next to them will show an R. This means they're restricted firm. That other trader knows that someone's put a firm price, but they themselves can't trade on it. Those particular prices are only available to the buy side. As a buy side user looking at my firm prices, they will still appear blue, but it will have an F next to them to denote that they are firm and executable. Similarly, a TSOX user who will be a buy side user by nature will be able to aggress my firm prices, and he'll be able to see them on his TSOX screen, having selected the particular staged order. It is worth pointing out here that if you're a bank looking at another bank's firm prices, you can't aggress them in the order book, but you can still send an RFQ to that other bank, and they may quote that same price to firm there, so there isn't a restriction on trading into bank in the RFQ process, just in the CLOB. Now let's go back to the spreadsheet. Having published our prices, we can do any of the following. We may want to update our prices or sizes, and we can do this just by typing in the new numbers. This will automatically publish the prices to the platform. You can hook up your sheet to another spreadsheet or to a formula, that's fine too. Also, you can click on the subject button. What this will do will be to turn your firm prices to be indicative only. Clicking on publish again will change them back to firm. Clicking pull will naturally pull all of your prices, both indicative and firm. Something that's worth mentioning here is that you have to be logged on to the application at all times when using the spreadsheet, otherwise you won't be able to publish prices. Next, we'll briefly show bond list management. Now in this section of buttons, you can, for example, remove all matured bonds from the sheet with one click. Also, you can make some settings to make sure that you have all of the new bonds that we add to the platform as and when we do so. So again, sticking with our other example, let's say we're a local govie trader in Turkey. We click the settings tab. We say, for this particular market segment, I want to update all new bonds added to that segment. Alternatively, if I want to have updates for specific tickers only, I can do this. Having made my settings, I close this form and I can now go to Update Bonds. This, as I said, will bring in any new bonds that have been added to the platform since I set up my sheet. So if a new bond is issued, I can click on this update button and that new bond will be added to the spreadsheet. I can then add my prices for it or formulas and so on. If someone trades on one of my prices, which I've sent from Excel, it won't tell me in the Excel sheet itself that I've traded. I'll have to look at the application or rely on the OpenFin pop-up in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. To continue contributing on that particular bond, I'll have to change my size up or down and then back to the level that I wanted. This is to ensure that there are no mistakes when someone trades on your prices. If I've attempted to contribute prices, but when I look at the application they're not all on there, I may want to know what's happened. There may have been an error. There are two ways of looking for these errors. The first is in the application itself on the Errors tab. For example, if I try to contribute a firm price in a size which is above my available limit, this Errors tab will show that error, and that will be the reason that that price isn't on the platform. Alternatively, I can select the line in the spreadsheet itself in which the bond I'm looking at sits. By clicking Debug Bond in the troubleshooting section, I can now be told of any reasons why that error has occurred. Thanks for watching this short video about the EMBonds Excel add-in. You've seen how to install the add-in, create a spreadsheet, and then publish prices to the platform. If you have any more questions, please contact your EMBonds representative.